All right, welcome to another edition of Lush Tongue Sound Meditation and more. My name is Anna Mae, and you are welcome to Om with me in unison and harmony, or you can improvise. Here we go. Hope you enjoyed that sonic massage for your body, mind, and soul. Some announcements. One, as always, you are welcome to make a contribution via any of the avenues in the description: Venmo, Cash App, PayPal. You are welcome to join my email newsletter by clicking the link in the description. And let's jump right in. So, this is the first podcast, Lushcast of 2021. Recording this on a day when there's a very contentious election happening long after the big presidential election in November. There's a contentious runoff election happening in one of the 50 states, and it's such an auspicious moment to have this ongoing polarity in the United States that's really being milked in the media, red and blue, and it plays into the theme of much of the work that my ensemble, Moving Star, will be delving into. Not so much political with a capital P, but more in the sense of themes of unity and the things that bring us together and that move us forward and that cultivate empathy and connection, all those wonderful things that can often feel like they're lacking within the polarized narrative of politics as it is propagated these days here in this neck of the earthly woods. So let's just jump right in with that. Happy New Year. If you celebrate, of course, there are many different ways that people mark time throughout the world. January 1st happens to have a lot of significance for a lot of nations throughout the world, but there are other nations that have um, time markers that are different from ours. So, for example, Chinese New Year is not on January 1st, and there are other cultures for whom 2021 isn't even the year necessarily that they culturally observe. They have like a different relationship to historical time, such that 2021 is not a universal. I mean, it's universally recognized for the sake of getting work done, and having enough of agreement to be able to say, "I'll meet you, next Tuesday, January 12th," and you both can agree that January 12th signifies um, a certain space-time event that you can both agree on. So that's a long-winded way of saying that the idea that I grew up with, that time as we experience it is universal, it is not necessarily. In fact, I read during the last spring forward fall back, the last fall back, where spring forward fall back, spring forward, you move your clock up in certain time zones. You move your time up an hour, and then in the autumn, you recalibrate by moving your time an hour back. That is not a universal mandate. In some places, it's not even a mandate really at all. It's a strong suggestion. And I read about the history of daylight saving time, or whatever the official term is for that whole. I think it's daylight saving time, daylight savings time, and the reason why it came to be, and just how much contention there was in declaring this standard um, throughout the world in order to get everyone to agree to synchronize their watches in a particular way. It's all kind of arbitrary. It's really fascinating to look into. Um, all that said, though, Happy New Year for those who believe that January 1st was a few days ago. All right, so in a few days there is going to be a concert. The date that we are recognizing is January 9th, which is Saturday, January 9th, 2021. We're starting off the year strong with an online concert. Now, how does an online concert work, you might wonder? Well, Moving Star, we've had the uh, luxury, I don't know if luxury is the right word, we've had the opportunity to play around and figure out what could work. And we've been playing around and experimenting since March of 2020, when we shifted from an in-person an ensemble that primarily meets in person to an ensemble that meets completely online across hundreds of miles from each other. We're all scattered like the four winds. And we've found some really cool technology that has helped enable our capacity to sing together online. And so we'd like to share that magic with you. And you don't have to go through any nefarious ticketing agencies. You don't have to leave the house. All you have to do is click on the link in the description for the Facebook Live. We're going to broadcast it through Facebook Live. And of course, there'll be a way for you to make a contribution to support the work of Moving Star. So I'm really excited about that. It's a half concert, half watch party. We'll actually have some music videos from some of the work that we've been focused on this past year. So I'm really excited to unveil all this. So it's going to be Saturday, January 9th. Don't have the time in front of me, but it's in the invitation that's in the description. So you can just take a look at that and synchronize your watch, your clock, your alarm, set your alarm. There should be a link for notification. You can do it that way as well. And you'll get a notification when we are going live on Saturday, January 9th. And also, if you'd like to follow, subscribe, do all those things for this channel being, depending on where you see it, it could be Facebook, it could be YouTube. Do all the things that will allow you to know when the next episode is happening. They happen on Tuesdays. And yeah, I'm really excited for what's evolving for this year. And if you have any questions for me, either about the concert Falling Into Place, did I say the title? The title is Falling Into Place, and I'll tell you more about that in a moment. Or you have any general inquiries for me as far as leading online gatherings, online community building through singing, you can send an email to lushtongue@gmail.com, which is also in the description, because everything's in the description. So the concert Falling Into Place, it's called that because we felt like that phrase and the quote that it comes from pretty much encapsulates much of what we experienced in 2020. The phrase comes from a famous quote by a famous Nigerian author, Chinua Achebe. It may ring a bell for you. He has a famous book called Things Fall Apart. And the quote that that one of the wonderful vocalists of Moving Star adapted into a beautiful song, Sasha. The singer's name is Sasha. The quote by Chinua Achebe, it goes, sometimes when things are falling apart, they may actually be falling into place. See, did I skip any words there? Yep, nope, that's correct. Sometimes when things are falling apart, they may actually be falling into place. Very heartening sentiment that I love. And I can't wait for you to hear the song as well as all the other songs that we've been working on. I'll be sharing a song based on the parable of the wolves, which is it's purported to be a Native American parable. Uh, I've seen different versions attributed to different tribes. The essence of the story is this young boy. He has like a an impulsive virtue and also an impulsive vice. And he asks his grandfather, you know, how do I know which impulse to follow, which impulse to act on? And the grandfather likens those impulses to wolves, and you know, the wolf that gets to have the most influence on your character is the wolf that you feed. And I love that parable so much, and so I created a song version of it, which I think you'll enjoy. All right. So that brings me to the last thing I want to share for today, which is just look at the docket, docket. Oh, yes. Okay. So, falling into place is such a powerful concept to me, a powerful theme. And that brings me to the idea of using themes, because themes are a very powerful way to frame uh, your goals, a powerful way to frame your your focus. And so there are many among us who, at the start of any new year, will start to have what are called resolutions. You know, a list of things that you intend to accomplish throughout the year. And it may work for some people, may not work for others. And the ones for whom it does not work, often, more often than not, the reason why is because simply having a to-do list is not sufficiently compelling or inspiring enough for you to actually act on whatever you put on that list. In other words, the why is not strong enough. The WHY. Why am I doing these things? Why do I want to accomplish these things? Why are they meaningful? So humans, being the meaning makers and storytellers that we naturally are, you know, we find meaning in everything. We make up stories of the most entertaining kind, as well as stories that can be very debilitating. Stories about ourselves, stories about our place in the world, stories about what we're capable of, what we're worthy of. And those stories often get in the way of doing the things on the grand to-do list known as the list of resolutions. And so people often find themselves starting off strong, and by people I mean me, and you and you and you and you. Starting the year off strong, like, yeah, I'm going to exercise 5 days a week. You know, you're getting in there, and then it starts to peter out as because your personal will is not enough to keep you going. You need a stronger foundation. You need a stronger why. Um, and so that's where we get into shifting from the paradigm of a to-do list, a list of resolutions, and more into the paradigm of themes. So when I think of themes, a few different things come to mind. One um, is our one is the concept of archetype. So an archetype is sort of a mix of a personality theme, if you will, and a mythological theme. So it's when your personal will aligns with a greater sort of what I would call a meta narrative, a larger meta narrative. Something that allows you to step into a role that may feel larger than life. The reason why celebrities captivate people, capture people's imaginations, is because they embody powerful archetypes that live in our imaginations in various ways, across all different cultures. Now, not there are a few archetypes that are truly universal, like a mother archetype. You can recognize that archetype in any culture, whether that archetype, that energy, that uh, conglomerate of traits that equate to what we imagine as the mother archetype. They can be embodied in a woman who has actual kids. They can be embodied in a man who has no kids, but he carries the energy of mother. So an archetype is like the superstructure within which our personalities kind of take on these roles that are the more immediately recognizable they are, the more possibility there is to really wield the power of those archetypes. So like queen, um, king, warrior, warrior, not worrier, but warrior, fighter, soldier. These kinds of class clown. That as a teacher, that's an archetype I witnessed in like every single classroom I've ever been in. I've never been in a classroom where there wasn't one student, um, at least one student who like occupied that role. And usually it's one student who really stands out in that role, like the kind of student who, if they took their clowning seriously, could go on to be, a great comedian, like that level of funny. So that's a really and the language of archetypes that have been popularized by Carl Jung, the traditional name for a class clown would be something more like a jester or a fool, the person who was able to tease out um, maybe truths that would typically be taboo, but because they're able to uh, present those unspoken truths in a funny way, they're given a little more leeway to speak those uncomfortable truths. So that's an example of an archetype. Now that kid, in everyday life, they're just who they are with all their hopes and fears and insecurities. When they step into the role, into the archetype of class clown, jester, fool, their energy can take on this larger than life if you let them go too far in your classroom. When they're on a roll, you really see that archetype clear, and that's an archetype I always like to use as an example because I find that it's the easiest example for people to grasp. A queen archetype is another example that I love. You can have a woman, really, person of any gender, but we'll go with women. Queens are typically embodied as women. But you can have a woman who, is dressed in the most modest garbs, but something about the way she carries herself. She just has the strong queen archetype. And she's exactly the person who maybe if she doesn't have any acting experience, but she just has this really strong archetype within her, and she goes to an audition and does halfway decent as far as reading the lines, but she embodies that energy. She's exactly the kind of person, and it's for a role, for somebody, and they're looking for somebody who can embody this character that has a strong queen archetype. She could be one of those like one in a million type cases of a totally untrained actor, but who happens to embody the exact energy that they're looking for to cast for a particular role. Again, going back to theater, going back to celebrities that you see in the media, they are celebrities because of their capacity to step into these archetypal roles. The more archetypally powerful, the more they tend to captivate our imaginations. And we do it with each other, us everyday people who are not celebrities. Think of anyone you ever had a crush on, um, chances are there's something archetypal going on in like what they ignite in within you. Um, so all that to say, archetypes are powerful, and archetypes are one way of thinking of themes. Another way of thinking of themes, as far as there's the archetypes of people, and then there's the archetypes of ideas. So, for example, the theme of abundance. Let's say you had abundance as your theme for the year. Like that's the thing that I'm focused on. Every activity, I'll ask myself, does this give me greater abundance, or does this take me out of alignment with my abundance? Abundance has a specific frequency. Abundance has specific qualities. Abundance is an archetype. It's a type. It's a type of archetype. um, Now, I don't typically hear people talk about uh, themes that you may carry with you throughout the year, thinking of them archetypally, but I do see them that way. If you ever see a person walking down the street and you can just feel that they are that they're prosperous, that they have abundance, they have an openness and expansiveness about them. How do you know that? What is it that they're giving off? What is the frequency that they're giving off? What's the energy that they're giving off that lets you know, like, oh, that person is in touch with his or her abundance? That's why I say that it's archetypal. There's something in there. Or if you've ever come across somebody who is miserly or misanthropic, not a fan of people, a curmudgeon, cranky, before they even say a word, you can feel that energy because that energy is archetypal. I'm 99% certain you've encountered that energy in different people, but it's the same energy, it's the same frequency, and we're all antennas, so we can pick up on that, and we all carry those different, um, you know, different amounts of different archetypes. There's a woman named Caroline Mace, and she does really great work in she has a book called Sacred Contracts, and she talks a lot about your essentially your spiritual posse, your team of archetypes that you call upon in kind of everyday life as you're moving through life and interacting with people. um, and the different people around you arouse the expression of different archetypes, like the archetypes that are most expressed within you when you're interacting with a lover are different, hopefully, different from the archetypes that emerge from you when you're dealing with your grandmother. So hopefully that helps give you a more tangible understanding of what archetypes are and how you can use them. So bringing that to your theme for the year. Do you have a theme for the year? Would you like to have a theme for the year? Is there a theme that has been emerging for you this first week of the year? Something that you've already been focusing on, but you'd like to focus on in a more deliberate way. What keeps coming up for you? Like, what has been your biggest hellhound up to now? What has been your biggest barrier? Where do you have an opportunity to cause a breakthrough, um, um, expand beyond limitations of the past? My theme for the year is thrive. THRIVE. I love the word. I love the letters in the word thrive. 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 I love that it rhymes with five. Five gives me a sense of completion. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the midway point before you get to the end of the single digits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's a lot of power in the number 5. There's just so much numerological significance to all the digits, and 5 in particular works with me. And I really love playing with different um, ways of using sound. So I love wordplay. So words that rhyme, like thrive and five, that works for me. Um, what else do I want to say about thrive? I love the meaning of it. I love the fullness and richness of fully thriving. I love that both in spite and because of all that happened in 2020, it lit a fire in me to thrive on a level that pre-COVID me would not have necessarily thought possible, or would have known in an abstract sense that it was possible, but to then actually go through it and to like find the resourcefulness and fortitude within me to to make things happen and allow things to unfold within this very unusual global set of circumstances. um, so I feel like I found my way to a deeper level of thriving in this past year, under unusual circumstances. And so now that there's kind of there's this momentum around having moved past a certain level of discomfort, that comes with not knowing when this like pandemic thing is going to end, and seeing all the multiple timelines of how different people are living. Of like there are people who are a bit more out and about and traveling, um and not totally living at like pre-COVID normalcy, but are not necessarily cooped up in the house. And then the whole other timelines of people who are totally cooped up in the house. And then a bunch of people in between. Um, to have been able to move through all that to get to where I am right now and what I'm looking to have unfold in this year, I feel like it all comes down to me to thriving, like thriving no matter what environment I'm in. I can adapt, I can alchemize, I can grow. And so my word is thrive. What is your word? Another way to think about theme is, of course, theme songs. So, what is a theme song that matches the energetic frequency of your word that represents your theme? So, for example, my word is thrive. So, what are songs about thriving, or what are songs that evoke the feeling of thriving? That's the question I'm asking myself. Um, there are many songs that come to mind. One of my all-time favorites is "I Know Who I Am" by Sinach. I think her name is pronounced Sinach. She's a Nigerian gospel singer. Uh, Such a great song about just owning your awesomeness as a child of God. Um, and then of course there's a whole playlist of songs about thriving that I'm building. So excited about that. And I'll share it. I'll make it like a Spotify playlist. So what is your theme? What is your theme song? What is your theme playlist? Questions to ponder as we close out on OM. Sound of universal consciousness. Here we go. Unison, harmony, or improvise. Seal in your theme if you have it, and if you're still dreaming up what it could be, like what feels right for you, perhaps it'll come to you as your oming. Here we go. All right, this was Lush Tongue, sound meditation, and more. Anna Mae signing off. See you next time.